From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hey guys, it's great to have you here. This is the Badass Counseling Show. I am Sven Erlandson, the host of this show. And wherever you are tuning in from, whether it's St. Cloud, Minnesota or Ontario, Canada, nice to have you in. We've got folks in from Queensland, Australia, and all points elsewhere. We are also three of us here in studio. I've got KC, always brainiac over there in the booth, and I've got Rob the Rocket sitting next to me. Rob, how are you today, my man?
You never cease to amaze me, Sven. We get all these unpredictable questions, and you always have an answer. It's amazing.
Well, thank you very much. Hopefully there's actually maybe one or two good ones even.
I'm hoping.
Here we go. Dalen over on TikTok asked the question, struggling bad with co-parenting, hard to communicate with mother of my child, Dalen says. And he puts a question mark at the end of it. Struggling to co-parent with and communicate with the mother of my child, basically asking me, what do I recommend? First of all, be clear, be firm, do not back down. I'm betting that if you're struggling to communicate, usually that indicates you're making your points known, but you're not feeling heard, and your needs and wants aren't being respected, and I'm sure you're trying to stand up for what you believe is in the best interest of the kids. In co-parenting's hard. Just after divorce, it's just hard, especially if you're in a relationship with somebody who's a dick. And what you have to do is you always have to be clear. You can't back down. I mean, yes, there are going to be compromises, but you can't let anybody run over you. You can't let them steamroll you. And you have to stay focused on what's in the best interest of the kids. And what's in the best interest of the kids isn't always what's the easiest way. It's not always placating or just keeping the peace. You've got to stand up. You got to be strong. And without more specifics, I can't really get into more of, because I'm not sure what exactly we're dealing with here, but you have to just keep being clear, and you have to stand strong, which means you have to be constantly working on your own shit, because it gets very easy when you're now single parenting. It gets very easy to get worn down inside and to begin to compromise or back down or let this person run over you, and you can't do that. All right, next question. How to deal with a narcissistic husband who verbally abused his kids, and trying to figure out how to catch 10 minutes to myself without subjecting them to his wrath. Okay, this is a narcissistic husband. So you are presently married, who is verbally abusing your kids, and trying to figure out how to catch 10 minutes to myself without subjecting them to his wrath. Well, you're saying that he is verbally abusing his kids. In other words, you're not fully able to protect him from his wrath. Okay. That means they are being verbally abused. And so my question to you is, what needs to be done to stop it? It's not about protecting them anymore by forever standing there in the middle of it and being a shield. My question to you is, why are you staying? And or what do you need to do to shut it down permanently? Because this is clearly an ongoing thing, and you're fundamentally asking, how do I deal with it? In other words, how do I deal with it from day to day? It's not about dealing with it. It's about stopping it. To protect the children means to stop the source. And so my question to you, Jennifer, is what do you need to do to stop it? Literally, to make it stop. And does that mean walking away from this relationship? Because otherwise, if you're saying you can't even catch 10 minutes now, and you've got kids who are still at home, then presumably these kids are going to be at home for several more years, which if you can't even catch 10 minutes now, this problem isn't going to get easier as time goes on. Okay, so what you need to be doing for you is probably getting into therapy, and or at the very least doing it on yourself. After the kids are asleep, you need to be flushing out all your anger, all your pain, all your rage, all your sadness, and you need to get rest, because if you're going to have to keep this up for several more years, you're not going to become more energetic unless you're doing the acts of, getting the pain and so forth out. But that's just the coping mechanism. If this is going to go on for years, you have to. What you really need to be asking yourself, Jennifer, and you do what you want. You're a grown woman. I'm sure you make good decisions, but you have to figure out not just how do I cope with this, how do I deal with a narcissistic husband who is abusing, by your own words, abusing his children verbally. you have to ask yourself a bigger question of what do I have to do to make it stop? And that may mean walking away from this relationship, because to be very honest, if I were your therapist and we're in counseling together, I would ask yourself the question of how do you justify staying in a relationship in which your children are being abused? Now, some people would say, well, I'm afraid that if I break off the relationship, then half the time the kids will be with their abusive father. And see, I'm able to protect them this way. No, you're not able to protect them. In fact, you just said that. He is verbally abusing them. And I try and basically say I get in there, and try to get it stopped, but he is doing it. Okay, she followed up by saying, I'm about to sign the lease without him, and we have things in place to protect us when he finds out he's being forced to go. Good for you. Great. Now, and forced to go, and presumably there are forces that will get him out, and presumably you are protected. So that's great, Jennifer. Now you're going to have some room to set up some structure and some safety around your kids. Your kids need to be in counseling as well. That's an absolute must. And you need to be as well. And again, at the very least, even if you're not, you need to be working on flushing your own shit out as well. And then you've got to use the courts. You've got to leverage the courts to make sure your children are protected. If you need to get a Doberman lawyer, get it. Your job is to protect the kids. And you also need to be doing your own healing work in the meantime so that you are able to be strong to protect those kids and make sure that their emotional protection, including counseling, that their emotional protection is happening and facilitating getting their own shit out of them. All right, next question. You got one, Rob?
Two interesting questions about dealing with the past. I'd like to give them to you together, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Tammy says, how do you overcome your mind from going back to the past? Is that even possible? And James says, what if I'm trying hard to journal and face the past, but overwhelmed on where to start?
Okay. James has the point. He's answering your question. Okay. Tammy, James is doing it. What you can't avoid going into the past. The mere fact that your brain wants to keep going there, your brain's trying to go there to get you to heal. There's shit back there, pain, fears, and bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself. And all of those need to come up and come out. Now, what James is saying is, shit, Sven, I'm doing it. It's fucking overwhelming. It is. It is, especially when you're first starting out. It's really it's the mirror image of, let's say you put on 200 pounds and now you got to start working out because you're getting, bad news from your doctor and you can't even walk up a flight of stairs. And now you got to go back to the gym and you got to start working out, right? And your first time's back in the gym, it's killing you. And the recovery is worse. Your muscles are sore and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is you go in a little bit, you do a little bit. Even if it doesn't feel like it's some monster bit in that gym, you just keep going back. Any big guys in the gym, I've been lifting since I was 11. I was an NCAA strength coach, NCAA athlete, former competitive power lifter. The people I respect most in the gym aren't the biggest and strongest ones. Hell no. Yeah, I respect those, of course, but respect the most? No. The ones I respect the most are the ones that are walking in with a cane. The ones that are walking in with 200 extra pounds on them. The ones who are walking in with, they've got some injury or something, and they're in there, they're grinding it out each day. Or the guy that walks in and he's, 80 years old. My father used to work out until his late 80s. I just respect the hell out of that, all right? But that's that's the parallel to your situation, James. And that's what you need to be doing, Tammy, is you just take it in baby bites. Just baby bites, man. And what you do then is you're building up the strength. You're building up your emotional strength to be able to handle a little bit more. And to be able to handle a little bit more, you need to be actively flushing out everything, journaling it out, all right? Writing letters to people that you don't send. If you have a therapist, talking it out with your therapist. But you have to be actively engaged in flushing it out. See, Tammy, the reason you don't want to go back into it is because it's overwhelming. You can't avoid it. Your brain is just naturally drawn back there. It's trying to go back there to heal. It's like how I frame depression. Depression pulls us down. It's pulling us down to heal, to cocoon, so that we can begin to hopefully actively pull it out using tools such as counseling, such as journaling, such as letter writing, and some other tools I teach in the book. There's a hole in my love cup, okay? But it's actively going into it, Tammy, and I know that may seem insane. You wouldn't be trying to avoid it and not go back into it unless it was painful and hurtful, as James is attesting, okay? But you got to do, that is the solution, all right? Go ahead.
Tammy says, I'm not that far into the book, but I'm doing it. Good. And James says, great analogy. I'm an animal in the gym, but but a wimp with the past.
Well, hey, no, now, James, that's cool. You know what? I get you, as you can imagine, I get a lot of guys and a lot of women and a lot of non-binary folks who are that way. They're athletes, or they were athletes, and so they go into the gym and they're like hitting it hard. They're banging heavy weight, right? And what I always say is, man, take your fucking journal into the gym. You want to welcome up your hatred, your anger, your rage, your sadness. You know, put your hoodie on or put your cap down low. So if you start tearing up, nobody jacks you up. And not that anybody would. People don't do that shit, anymore. At least not, whatever. And but bring your journal in there and write a fucking letter to the person you're most angry at in between your fucking sets. You want to see some fucking hell unleashed on those fucking weights, James? You wait and see. When you can begin to unleash that emotional power in the middle of a motherfucking workout, dude, you watch. You take my fucking word for it. You watch, all right? But yeah, Tammy, take your cue there from James and start going into yourself and start going into that past and welcome it. Welcome it, because it's all stored in you. Everything that's in you, all those feelings, you guys got to understand. Everyone. Now, this is to everyone. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, you got to understand all that shit in your past that you're trying to avoid, all those feelings that you feel when you think about that past, you have to understand that's your authentic self. All of those feelings are your authentic reaction to things that were being done to you or weren't being done for you. All those feelings you're running from are literally your authentic self. If you struggle to know who you are, that's it. That's the beginning. Though the things that you get triggered and you start to feel those things you're feeling, that's the real you. That's not fake you. That's not the fake you put on to try to be accepted or loved by other people. That's the real motherfucking you. Welcome those feelings. Yes, they hurt, but gosh, this is my pain. This is me. You're alive because you're finally being you. In that vault of all those feelings is the authentic James, the authentic Tammy. Welcome them because you're finally setting that childhood version of you free. And that childhood version is finally setting you free by finally introducing you to who you really are. All those authentic responses that you weren't allowed to have. That's you in there. That's a gold mine. So when you're reading the book, be sure to do all the exercises in the book and do them in writing. That's where the gold is. All righty, next question. Here we go. I've hit a brick wall in my healing. I'm exhausted. I'm so sick of the struggle. I know I'm only existing, not living. The more I isolate, the easier it seems, but I know I'm missing out on life. How do I get my mojo back? Okay, you begin by saying you're healing, but you hit a brick wall and you're exhausted. And I'm sick of the struggle, right? And then you end by basically saying, how do I get my mojo back? You get your mojo back by going into more of the healing. It's not that your mojo is missing. It's not that it left the building. Elvis is still in the house. It's just that there's somebody sitting on Elvis's head with their fat ass, all right? And that fat ass is all the pain of your life. And you've hit a roadblock. It's not that you've hit a roadblock. You're just tired right now. You're burned out on energy-wise, right? So rest. If it feels good to isolate, fucking isolate. You're not missing out on life. Life is calling you down. Life calls us down into depression. Life calls us down. Our soul is calling us down to rest. If you need to isolate, isolate. And use that time to rest your mind. Quiet the lights. When literally this afternoon, after I've had an intense session or something, or if I'm between sessions, or if I've had an intense week, or whatever it might be in my personal life or in my work life, I stretch out on my couch and I elevate my knees, and then I put my hat. I always have hats on, right? Because I'm bald and my fat head gets cold. And I flip that right over my eyes to block out the light. Not necessarily sleep. Sometimes I sleep. Sometimes I just go into a deep relaxation. Then sometimes I'll sit there and I'll journal. Right? Or sometimes I'll just let myself relax. But that calling down, that isolating, the easier it seems. Yeah, it is easier to do the work when you isolate. And so many people don't want this solitude. Why? Because they're afraid of all this stuff like James was talking about. Because all that shit comes up, Sven. Fuck. Exactly. But the beauty of isolating versus being out there is you're finally in it. Okay, so that's the huge step. But you know you're missing out on life. It's okay. Life is going to be there when you're done healing, Sandra, or when you're further along. Your soul is calling you and you're exhausted, and so you need rest. You started by saying, I've hit a brick wall and I'm exhausted and I'm sick of the struggle. So you're tired. Let your body rest. Let yourself rest. Let your energy rest so you're not feeling the need to pump out energy to other people. And then you'll get more energy back. Give yourself sleep. Give yourself time alone. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's good. And then dive into the work, dive back in, because that's where your mojo is going to come from. We lose our mojo when we're tired. We lose our mojo when we're just worn down from doing the healing work. So give yourself rest, go back into the healing work, because the more of that shit you get out of you, the more you're going to begin to feel lighter, the more you're going to have more energy, the more you're going to feel exuberance again for life. And it'll feel right. When it's time to enter back into the activity of life, it'll feel right. But for now, give yourself room to heal, guys. All right, next question. Michelle asks a good question on TikTok. Why does the atmosphere change when the narcissist returns home? Well, I think you probably can answer your own question, but I'm going to take a quick swing at it, because someone who's a narcissist, or what I use, you guys know my term. My term is extreme taker. When the extreme taker walks in the room, everything changes. Why? Because it's all about them. They take all the energy. They take all the attention. It's about me. So now everyone can shift from leading their own life and actually fucking being happy to now we have to placate. We have to tap dance. We have to walk on eggshells around that fucking narcissist, or they're going to lose their shit, or they're going to go in tearing fit, or they're going to start yelling, or they're going to go on the silent treatment, or they're going to be a fucking dick in some way. So everybody changes. It changes because fundamentally, and this is the hard part here, they have all the power. When we are in a relationship with a narcissist, with what I call an extreme taker, if we are backing down, if we are doing the tap dance and walking on eggshells, if we're placating them and going to meet their needs for fear of them leaving or fear of them getting mad at us, they have the power. And eventually we get tired of the cycle and we say, fuck this shit. I don't even care anymore. I'm done. I'm done being treated this way. But in all likelihood, you are staying in this cycle, Michelle, because you fear something. And if you're ever going to get out of this cycle and begin to have a life where the entrance of one person into a room doesn't change everything, okay? And that's what you're saying. This narcissist, they walk in the home and the whole atmosphere of the house changes, right? Because that extreme taker is a fucking dick. They have the power. And until you take your power back, and until you turn your life into what you need it to be and what you want it to be, it's going to continue. And this will not stop. All right, next question. Daniel says, there's no question here, but Daniel says, I'm in my bed crying. She has destroyed me. It's been 8 weeks. Daniel, I'm fucking sorry, man. I really am. I have been there. I have been in the situation where I cried for, a couple of years. And the pain, and I'd be curled up in a ball on my living room floor, this ugly ass gold carpet when I was finishing graduate school, or I was in graduate school seminary in Berkeley, California. I remember being curled up on the ball on the living room floor next to our futon. The futon was a blue futon. And the tears, there were no tears left, but the pain that the tears were supposed to get rid of, the pain was still there. So Daniel, I get where you're at, man. You have to be actively flushing it out. It's not just the crying. You have to be engaged, hopefully in counseling, but at the very least in journaling and writing letters to her and flushing out all of your pain. You have to be, folks, you have to be deliberately, actively flushing out this, all of it, putting it into words. Words heal. All right. Here we go. Erica asks a good question. This is on Facebook. Erica asks, what if you are finally okay with your past and no longer hurt from them? Are you still your authentic self? Okay. My response to that, Erica, is if you are in fact okay with your past and no longer hurt from them and so forth, if you, first of all, congrats on that. If that's the case, good for you. But then you ask the question, are you still your authentic self? It's not a matter of, are you still your authentic self? You're finally becoming your authentic self. And if you're having to ask if I'm being my authentic self, you're not your authentic self yet, because you feel it when it's authentic. There's a book that I recommend to people. It's been out of print for cripes, probably 25 years. But it's one of my Bibles. I didn't write it. I don't get any royalties from it. It's a book entitled Living in the Light by Shakti Gawain. And for those of you who are reading There's a Hole in My Love Cup, my book, it's right at the top of the recommended reading list that I put in the front of my book. And I put it in the front of the book. Most people put those in the back of the book. I put it in the front of the book because back when this book first came out, Amazon had look inside the book. And I wanted people to be able to see my recommended reading list and know that I don't give a shit if you don't read my book. Just read these 9 other books. Just read these and do the work in them, and it'll heal you. All right? One of those is Living in the Light by Shakti Gawain. And what she does so well in that book is explains the connection between your own energy and your feelings and your authentic self. You can get it. It's out of print and get it for fucking $3 a copy or something. But the point is this: you're not healed from your past if you're not your authentic self yet. That fully healing from your past will naturally give birth to your authentic self. It's like in spring. All the leaves are falling now. We're in the New York City tri-state. All the leaves are falling, right? And they fall in your yard and they fall in your garden. Well, then in the spring, I got to rake off my garden and get all those leaves and the snow and the pack and the mud and the ice and the water. I got to actively rake those off my garden. And when I get that pack off my garden, what happens? You guys have heard me say it before. The daffodils, the jonquils, the lily of the valley, the peonies, they effortlessly bloom. They shoot through the soil. But if I don't remove that pack, my jonquils, my daffodils aren't coming up. I'm not going to have any peonies. I have to actively remove the pack. So with the pack, the metaphor is, in your past, it's not just the pain, it's the fear, but most importantly, it is the core beliefs you have been taught about yourself that you cannot even see. And until those are unearthed, and until those are jackhammered away, you're still going to be your inauthentic self because you are responding to core beliefs about yourself that were never true to begin with. Well, Sven, how the fuck do I get rid of core beliefs if I can't even fucking see them? Excellent question. That's what I wrote the book for. And if I could read it all to you right now, we would, but Rob and I know that when we recorded the audiobook for this, I think it was about 20 hours or whatever the hell it was. 13.
More than that.
Okay, so bottom line is you can heal from this, but until you will naturally feel your authentic self, it will blossom up. You will have lightness. You will have spontaneous energy. You will have clarity that you've never experienced. Literal physical reactions. Physical reactions. This isn't mumbo jumbo, kumbaya, fucking namaste bullshit. This is real deal shit. All right, much more to come right after this short break.
I've read so many self-help books, and I always get something good out of them. But when I dove into There's a Hole in My Love Cup, well, it changed me. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. My copy is very dog-eared and highlighted. Thanks, Sven, for writing it. I love There's a Hole in My Love Cup, and believe you will also. Order your copy at badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
We are back with more questions in a lightning round. I've got one right away here from Christina. She asked the question, 180-degree turn in my spouse. He was aware, loving, kind, and then decides to ignore and avoid me. Explain? Anger, resentment, spiteful. Any attempt I make to talk or communicate, immediate reply is, I am bullying and harassing him. What the fuck is that? Actually, she says, WTH. What the hell is that? What the hell is that is something's going on inside of him. It could be any number of things. He's feeling fear about money. He's remembering shit from his own childhood. He's got shit going on inside of him. And the bottom line is he is not present to you as he was in the past. So the relationship has changed. And you, at the beginning, in the middle, you say, can explain, question mark. And then at the end, you say, what the hell is with this? In other words, you are trying to understand. Anytime we're trying to understand in a relationship, even if it's with an ex, we're trying to understand because if I understand it, clearly you don't like it. You want your spouse who was aware, loving, kind. You want that one back. Anytime we're trying to understand, we're trying to then, because if I understand it, then I can change it. Then I can heal it. At the root of your attempt to understand is trying to change it. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. Perfectly normal human response. But the bottom line is every effort you have made to understand, to engage him so that it could change, to get him back to who he was, has been rebuffed. And he's saying, hey, you're harassing me, you're bullying me, back the fuck off is what's going on. You're trying to understand so that it can be fixed so that you can get your old marriage back. Right. And what's going to happen is either A, he's going to open up and want to actually heal it, or B, you're going to realize it's not going back. You're going to realize this is the new reality. So you're still trying to understand because you want to change it. And the more he rebuffs you and pushes you back, and basically with his actions says, fuck you, I'm not changing, the more you're going to realize, holy shit, he's not changing. That means this is going to be your new reality. And you don't want this to be your new reality. And so then you're left answering the question, how long am I going to stay in this new reality? Now, for those of you who have found yourself in a new reality, and I don't necessarily mean presently, you were in a relationship and a new reality started. Now, maybe it started a year into the relationship. Maybe it started the day after the wedding. Maybe it started after you had your first kid. Whenever it started, one of the things that I have seen with a lot of people, counseling a whole lot of people over 30 years, is that very often after they finally get out, they say, I wish I wouldn't have waited so long in the new reality. I wish I would have gotten out years ago. And Sven, I'm so mad at myself. I feel like I wasted all those years because we so don't want to believe the new reality. We still so cling to, we remember, we hold out for, we hope that it's going to go back to the old reality when, as Christina says, he was aware, loving, and kind. Okay? Trying to understand so that I can change it so we can get back to that. But you're in a new reality now, Christina. You've done what you can, and you can keep doing more, and no one would blame you. Nothing wrong with that, but the bottom line is, at some point, you're going to realize it's a new reality. Now, you can let that be 10 years down the road, or you can let it be now, and you can even ask him, is this the new reality? Sweetheart, I love you. I want my old husband back. Is this the new reality? Just answer a simple question for me, honey. And his response is going to tell the whole story. And I guarantee you his response is basically going to be what it's already been. But you're still not going to want to accept it. And at some point, you're going to be forced to accept that this is the new reality. And then you've got to ask yourself, do I want to stay with a person who is treating me unlovingly? Because if someone is treating you unlovingly, do you want to know what the message is that they're sending by their actions? I don't love you. Do you guys get that? If someone acts in ways that convey the message they don't love you, if they act in unloving ways, in ways that convey the message I don't love you, do you know what that means? It means they don't love you. See, if you love someone, your actions convey the message I love you. So if someone is acting in ways that convey the message I don't love you, and you keep hoping they will change the message to I love you, you can do that. But it may not be the best decision because they're already telling you, and I believe your husband is already telling you. And at some point, you're going to have to decide if this is your new reality. It sounds like it is, but you're going to have to decide, and then you're going to have to decide, oh shit, what do I do now? Rob's got one.
Yes, on YouTube, Sven, Justin asks, why is it I feel stable self-love on my own, but the moment I find myself in a romantic relationship, I place my self-worth in their hands?
Right. And you know what? This is great. I get so many people doing self-work, and they do the work, but then once they get into some sort of relationship, it can be a close friendship, but very often it's a love relationship when the stakes are really fucking high, right? They oftentimes revert back to their old ways or a lower form than what they want to be. And this is why getting back into a relationship is really where the rubber hits the road, because now I've got to put all the theory into action. But what's at the root of it, Dustin? Dustin or Justin? Justin.
Justin.
What's at the root of it, Justin, is fear. You're terrified to be your real self in a relationship. All right? You can do it when no one's looking, when you're on your own. And let me tell you, brother, that's a great start. But the bottom line is it's fear. You fear that if you show who you really are, this person might leave you, might not want you, might exit the relationship, might reject you. And then you'd be alone again. And you'd be alone with the confirmation of I'm dog shit. I'm no good. I showed who I really was, and this person didn't want you. And guess what, Justin? There are going to be people who don't want your authentic self. Do you have any idea how many people there are that don't like my authentic self? Rob's raising his hand off camera. Thanks. No, I get it every day. Oh, you shouldn't swear as much. Fuck you. It's just who I am. Now I try to curb it to be nice. And, Rob edits out the bad parts. And in my videos, I try to swear a little bit less sometimes for the Facebook crowd. But my TikTok crowd, they let me be me. But the bottom line is not everybody's going to like you for who you are, Justin. And you're terrified of that, especially when it comes to love. And so what you've got to drill down to is, what is the real fear operating here? What is it that I'm really afraid of? Is it them leaving? So they're back as they're walking away from you and thereby confirming that I don't like you and somebody else doesn't like you? Is it being alone? What is it? But until you go into and welcome up and sort through that fear, you're going to keep acting that way. And the goal is to flush out those fears until you are no longer afraid of someone leaving you for who you really are. Rob, you're itching to talk.
Justin says, damn, you clocked me, with a crying emoji. And then he says, thanks for the tough love, Sven.
You got it, brother. And it's actually, it's actually love, man. It's not even tough love. I think the authentic, and I tell this to clients, and I'm glad you said that, Justin. That was a really good point. I tell this to clients that it's going to feel like I'm doing battle with you. I'm not doing battle with you. I'm in love with the authentic you. And the authentic you is buried down deep inside, underneath a whole mountain of shit and quite a few dragons inside of you. So when I'm coming after you, I've crawled down your fucking throat and I'm slaying your fucking dragons. All right? Because you've been taught bullshit about yourself that was never true to begin with. So I'm not fighting you. I love you. I fall in love with every single one of my clients, male or female, old or young. Non-binary, you fucking 2 years old, 85 years old. And I've had 85-year-old clients, all right? I fall in love with the spirit of who they really are. So it's not even tough love for you. It's compassionate love for you. It's tough as hell, bringing the fires of hell onto those dragons inside of you and teaching you how to slay your own motherfucking dragons, because that way you don't need me anymore. All right. Next question. Here we go. This is a juicy one. This is Chloe over on Facebook. I'm digging you guys' questions tonight. All right. Chloe says, how to get revenge on him while still married and the best friend I thought I had. You want to know how to get revenge on him while you're married and the best friend I thought I had. I guess I would respond with, you're staying married to someone you want to get revenge on. Do you see the problem? You are fundamentally staying with someone. Revenge implies some level of hate. Now, a lot of people don't like the word hate, but folks, it's just one more emotion. Hate is only bad if you're actually like actively hurting someone or kicking your dog or burning down a house. But feeling an emotion, there's nothing wrong with hate anymore. There's anything wrong with sadness or melancholy or anything else. It's just one more feeling. It's a natural human response. You're wanting revenge on someone is you feeling strong feelings, potentially hatred, rage towards a person, and you're staying married. I don't recommend trying to get rage on someone you're married to. You want to know why? Because guess how they're going to fucking respond? In kind, in all likelihood. But it's not just that I don't recommend getting revenge on someone you're married to. I don't recommend staying married to someone you want to get revenge on. Why? For what possible reason would you stay married to someone you want to get revenge on? Now, I'm not judging you. You can do whatever the hell you want. It's your fucking life. But I can't see the logic in or the good in staying with somebody that you want to get revenge on. And I can't really counsel you to get revenge on it because this is a healing show. I'm trying to help you guys heal, right? And so what I would strongly recommend for you, Chloe, she says for revenge, OF. But still, getting revenge, the bottom line is, and then she follows up with, there's no logic. I just want to hurt them. Okay, and that'll help heal me. No, it won't. And I would love it right now if anyone who has experience with this would go ahead and weigh in. Does getting revenge help you heal? I'm opening up the audience. It's like when fucking David Lee Roth takes the fucking microphone and puts it out for the fucking people to sing, right? We're at a Van Halen concert. Now I'm putting the microphone out there for you fuckers to say, does Amanda Cervini, always present on these, says no. Rachel says no. I've got Carpe Diem saying no. Karen says nope. Turbo says absolutely not. Kellyanne says absolutely not. Christy says nope. This is the women weighing in here.
Tammy says no.
Arthur says no. Karen says no. We're getting a lot of no's. I have literally not seen one yes yet of does getting revenge help you heal. Now Amanda Marie says revenge is sweet, but success is sweeter. There you go. All right. And Melanie says for the moment, but then sadness. Chloe says, I don't trust women or men. Chloe, the bottom line is you've got so much pain inside of you. You got so much pain. That desire to hurt someone, it's normal. I'm not judging you for that. I'm really not. I have felt that. At times I feel that. Wanting to hurt people who have hurt me or just wanting to hurt someone because I'm so mad, right? So when you see a bully on the playground, a kid, and he goes hit someone, The kid's not a bad kid. He's responding to the shit rolls downhill, as we used to say in the military, right? He's responding to the pain that's been done to him. You're expressing a natural human desire to hurt. You've got so much hurt inside of you that you're wanting to hurt someone else to get it out of you. And it feels sweet for a very short moment. But then it's just sadness because it doesn't take your pain away. What takes your pain away is counseling, going into the pain, flushing it out, talking it out with your dearest friend, journaling, writing letters that you don't send. But trying to hurt someone isn't going to heal you. And you don't have to listen to me. Again, it's everyone saying, no, it doesn't help. That means the real solution is going into the pain, Chloe. And I know you got a lot of it in there. And you don't trust men or women. That says you got a whole lot of pain in there. And that has to come out. It's about healing ultimately. In the words of Salty Air, work on yourself. The person that wronged you probably doesn't even care. Chrissy says, getting his book. They're talking about this one. There's a hole in my love cup. All right. And now some people are saying, just forgive. And I need to just short circuit that something here. All right. I understand. So, and someone's saying, purge the pain. Yes, exactly. You know, a lot of people say, well, you know, if you forgive. And a lot of that is religion influenced by a lot of people. Not everyone. And, you know, if you believe you got to forgive, I'm not opposed to forgiveness. But there is nowhere in any ancient text, and as a person who has made his life studying belief systems, all right? That's one of the few things I actually know in this life. Don't ask me to turn on this electric clock next to my fucking computer because I don't know how to turn the fucking thing on. I'm an idiot with most stuff. But belief systems, there's no sacred text that says, I got to forgive right now. No, they encourage forgiveness, but it doesn't say it has to be right now. All I say is, hey, why don't you wait a little bit? Why would I wait to forgive if forgive is such a grand thing? I'm not saying it's such a grand thing. I'm not saying it's not a grand thing. I'm saying the most important thing is getting all the pain out of you. Then if you want to forgive later, God bless you, go for it. Tits up. All right? But until you get the pain out of you, no amount of forgiveness is going to make that pain go away. Folks, until the pain is out of you, it's still in you. And you work so hard to try to pat it down. Do you know how many thousands of people I've had over the years say to me, Sven, I forgave, but I still get mad so easily. Sven, I forgave, but I still cry a lot. Exactly. The pain is still in you, folks. The anger is still in you. The rage is still in you. So you can forgive all you fucking want. But if you don't get that pain out of there, ain't no amount of forgiveness going to make that fucking pain go away. And that means you're still going to have your emotional responses, whether it's rage or wanting revenge or what have you. All right. So Chloe, do yourself a favor. Don't base it on anything I said. Base it on what everyone else here tonight has said. Revenge isn't the fucking answer. You got to flush that shit out. You got to purge that shit out. I strongly recommend get the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. Or if you don't want to read my shit, don't read my fucking book. Just read the 9 other fucking books that I recommend in here. Do the work in those books. And that way you don't have to buy my shit. All my shit is free otherwise. Get those fucking books. But you got to dive in. You got to start purging out the pain, the fears, but especially the bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself. All right, next question. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, I got a very sad double whammy here for you, Sven. Steph asks, do you have any content about divorce or separation after the loss of a child? My husband of 22 years left me after our 7-year-old passed away. He won't divorce me, but has been with multiple women, confirmed, not just speculation.
Yeah. And so what precisely is the question? Do I have any insight to offer? Is that the question?
Insight about divorce and separation in this situation.
Okay, so you're asking about separation and divorce, and you said he doesn't want a divorce. He just wants to fucking sleep around with these other women. First thing I'll say is I've counseled a lot of people over the years who have lost loved ones, and that includes children. And folks, it's true what you hear. That's top of the list. And it's up there with a couple other things as far as worst pain in life. Loss of a child. There are some other losses that I've seen and pains that I've seen it's all in the ballpark. And we're not quantifying. We're not saying someone's is worse than others, but that's as bad as it gets. And so my heart goes out to you, and I mean that very sincerely. All right? Having never experienced, and I think you and all your compassion for humanity would say that you don't want anyone to ever have to experience what you've experienced. That being said, one of the things that I've seen quite regularly is that does split couples. It has that power. It's not automatic, but does it happen a lot? Yeah, it does, because it just fucking spins two people out of control because you're dealing with a level of pain, an acute level of pain that doesn't ever seem to go away. And this is one of those where, first of all, I do hope you're in therapy. I really do. And if not, May I recommend that you do? I know you may feel like I don't want to touch the pain and it's too much, or some days I can't. Yeah, that's right. Some days you can't. I know you don't want to touch the therapy, but there's no way out and there's no way around. There's only through the pain. Okay. But that wasn't your question. Your question is, okay, how do I deal? What are your thoughts on separation and divorce, Sven? You're right. You're separated right now. They're separated, but he doesn't want a divorce and he's sleeping around. The reason people sleep around, the reason people in these situations gamble or do drugs or all of a sudden become an alcoholic or start overworking. I've seen that one a lot. I've seen people start whole new businesses when their child dies. Why? It's something they can absorb themselves into. All of these are means of distraction. All of these are means of feeling something, either numbing myself out from feeling so much, particularly so much shit from the death of the child, or so I'm numbing out by doing something, or I'm trying to actually feel something because I'm so numb in my life. Now, something like sex, if your husband is sleeping around a lot, he's probably trying to feel something. He's so broken, so wounded. And I'm not making excuses for his behavior. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying what's the likely cause from where I've sat, from counseling people for 30 years. He's just so broken and dead inside, just like you. Okay, so I'm not excusing his behavior. I'm not, okay? But that being said, he's probably trying to feel something, feel loved, because he feels so empty of love, because one of his sources of life energy and joys in life and sense of purpose was the death of his child, or was his child, and then his child died. So he's trying to feel something, but in the meantime, it's causing you extraordinary pain, being alone and seeing your husband do these things to you and the destruction of your marriage and seeing it done so ruthlessly and callously. So you have an immense amount of pain inside of you, and your counselor needs to be taking you not just inside of the pain that you're experiencing at the loss of a child, which in and of itself is beyond extraordinary, but taking you into all this pain. And not only does your counselor, your therapist need to be doing this, and I would be recommending in a situation like this, I've seen people in counseling go 2, 3, 4 times a week. If that feels right to you, more often is better in this case. But even if you're only seeing your therapist once a week, you can be journaling and you can be writing letters to your son and to your husband, your dead child, and to your husband and to anybody else, and flushing it all out. You have to be about the business. If ever you had to be about the business, it's going into the pain that hurts so fucking badly. And I'm sorry, truly and sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, I am sorry that you're having to go through this. And anybody else who's tuning into the show, if you have lost a child or any loved one, and for those of you who have always been alone, and maybe your loved one was your dearest animal, okay? Anybody you've lost, anybody suffering with loss and death, please know my heart goes out to you. But what you've got working against you in this case is not just the death of that, but it's the death of your child, but also the death of your marriage. This is a death, and he's grinding it into the ground. And it's death of the dream that you had for your marriage. Not just the death of the dream of the family because your son died, but now the death of the dream of any future of that family. It's apparently crushed, destroyed, ground into the dirt. You're grieving so much, and when our heart is grieving, do you know what we have to do? We have to grieve. Grieve. You have to grieve, and not just the tears, not just the wailing, the keening. But the words. Listen to those songs that speak your truth. Get that pad of fucking paper. Talk to your best friend. Let people carry you. Let people help you. So often we don't want help because we don't want to be a burden. Fuck that shit. The people who love you say, fuck that. You ain't a burden. I got you. Because you've been there for me before. I got you. All right? But you have to be actively getting that out of you. All right. Next question. I'm going to answer a question that I am unqualified to answer, okay? And the question from Valknut Farms, I'm sure I mispronounced that. Which is better or more useful, a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science in psychology? Well, there are a whole lot of hurtful, hateful people who'd say, psychology, that's shit. It's worthless. Don't get it. It's all shit. BA, BS, it's all BS. And they think they're being fucking funny. Just for the record, both my kids have their degree in psychology. I know nothing about psychology. I am not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I have nothing to do with the medical profession. And I love it when people give me the opportunity to say that, because I want everyone to know that right up front. It is on every page of my website. I am not anything to do with the medical profession. I'm a former clergyman. I still do some pastoral acts, but I am a soul/spiritual counselor. I deal with people's core beliefs and pain and fear. Basically, I deal with the stuff that anybody would, before psychology started, 150 years ago-ish, 145, it was like 1885, something like that. Who did people go to when they had problems? Who did people go to when they were suffering in life, when they had marital problems? They went to their rabbi. They went to the shaman. They went to the imam. They went to the priest. They went to the medicine man. They went to the wise old woman. My grandmother, Grandma Johnson, she had hair down to her ass, gray hair, and Swedish through and through. But in her 70s, she had been brought in to be the wise old woman on the reservation of the Mdewakanton Sioux and the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe as their wise old woman in Chapel Proctor. In her 80s, she was brought in to be the wise old woman on the Jewish Christian commune of Ben Katz. He ran a Jewish Christian commune up in Wadena, Minnesota. I believe it was Wadena. Wasika? Wadena. I always get those. Wadena. And wise old woman. And my mother, wise old woman. You've heard me talk about her before. I come from a line of wise old women. Okay? Some pretty wise men too, but the wise old women. That's who people went to in the past before there was a psychologist. That's where people are going now because we have a mental health dilemma in this world. There's just a shortage and people can't get it. All right? There are great healers out there, and some of them are right around you, you guys. Right around you. You want to heal, my friend? Walnut Farms, you want to heal? Go with whichever one feels right to you. The ultimate in healing is not what you're going to learn in the book. It's you doing your own healing. You having the courage to listen to your own inner voice. I don't have a degree in psychology, yet here I am, trying to heal, doing my best to heal literally millions of followers around the world. Because I have a degree in psychology? No, but I see immense value in a degree in psychology. Hell yeah. A lot of fucking psychologists and therapists doing immense, amazing, wonderful work. And then there are a whole lot of wise old women. And there are a whole lot of really fucking compassionate uncles. All right? Go the path that speaks to your heart, but in the end, heal yourself. Nothing will make you a more powerful healer in life. Nothing. Regardless of what your title is, nothing will make you a more powerful healer than having the brass balls to walk into your pain and heal yourself. And you will find a power and you will find a wisdom unmatched by any book. All right, we're going to take one or two more questions here. And then you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a break. We're going to come up. We're going to fire up another live, potentially. Rob and I got to have a little chitty chat here, but we're probably going to do another one right after this. So I'm going to take one or two more questions here.
I'm just comforted by the thought that if this was 150 years ago, you're all we got.
No. A lot of great folks out there. Good priests and clergy and rabbi and wise old women. All right. And this on TikTok. Alex says, I love these streams. You're the best. Okay. But then says, I got a question about a 24-year-old struggling with alcohol. Now, unfortunately, on TikTok, you get a very small space to write shit. And so you're struggling with a 24-year-old with problems with alcohol. A 24-year-old struggling with alcohol or using a lot of alcohol, I was there. And I have at other times in my life. But the person is struggling with alcohol more often than not because it's an escape. It's an escape from the shit that's going on inside of them. Just like the person that I was talking to whose husband is out basically whoring around after the death of their child. They're either trying to feel something because they are numb inside, because their life, think of it this way, you guys. People that are using overworking, overparenting, booze, gambling, overgaming, over social media-ing, whatever it is, if this is your life, this sort of ball, this sphere, those are escapes from it. You're trying to escape that sphere, that ball that is your life. And so then a lot of people will counsel you, well, you got to work on getting rid of those escapes. You got to get rid of the booze. You got to get rid of the whatever. And I am not an addiction counselor. I know jack shit about addiction. All right. So let's just get that clear right up front. But what I tell people is, in a way, that thing that you've been going to has been your best friend. That binging and purging, that bottle, as much as it is destroying you, it is saving you. You want to know why? Because it's the one thing that has the power to take you away from the fucking misery of your fucking miserable fucking life. So the solution is to change that sphere, that ball, that life, such that you have no desire to escape. Then that mechanism, that quote-unquote best friend, fades away. You want to know why? Because you don't need it anymore. The goal is to go inside of that sphere or that ball that is your life and begin to find the pain, the fears, and the bullshit beliefs you were taught about yourself that have caused you to create this sphere, this ball, this life out of those fucked up beliefs and that pain. And as you go into those deeper issues and begin to deconstruct them and excise them, cut them out, the more you begin to create a life that you have no desire to escape. And so what I would honestly do is I would go to your 24-year-old and I would go with kindness, with a spirit of love, and with a spirit of listening. And I would go to your 24-year-old when they are sober and not say, not focus on the drinking, but begin to focus on talking to them, listening to them. For those of you struggling with any young adults or adults in their 30s, 40s that perhaps you've hurt or perhaps they are struggling, go back and watch the video that I put up on Christmas of last year. All right. It was either the 24th or the 25th. And it's titled something like seven things you can do to help your adult child heal. All right. And it steps you through the process, and it's going to give you tips, and it's going to give you clues and actual things you can do to help your adult child heal. I strongly recommend you go back and look at that. It's December 24th or 25th of 2023. It's up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. All right. I want to thank everyone for checking in. Love you guys. Rob, any closing thoughts?
I'm sorry we couldn't get to all the questions. They were all really good today.
Yeah, and more just kept coming. So please come right back, and we're going to get to your questions. All right. On behalf of KC and Rob the Rocket sitting next to me, to all of you out there in podcast land, have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.